Okay, so Jurassic World No Way Home is finally here, and the brand new movie brings together the old and new cast so that they can take down the dinosaurs from the days of future past. This new film is basically about how life finds a way, and throughout this video we're going to be breaking down the plot, ending, and also what we think of the film. You bet Jurassic it'll be full of bad puns, and this video will have major spoilers in it, so if you don't want it ruined, then I suggest you extinct the video. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy it, and also don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this every week. With that out of the way, yeah, thanks for clicking this. Now let's get into Jurassic World Dominion. So the movie is set 4 years after the events of Fallen Kingdom, and primarily it follows Owen, Claire, and Maisie, who now live out in the wilderness, attempting to hide the ladder away from the world. Last movie we learned that Maisie was a clone of her mother Charlotte, and throughout this film we unearth exactly why she's so special. We discover that Maisie was an immaculate conception, and that her mother carried her in her own womb, which is something that was hidden from Maisie by her grandfather. Turned out that she was genetically bred to be exactly the same, however Charlotte discovered that she had a rare genetic condition within her that would prove to be fatal. She managed to remove this from Maisie so that she no longer carried this disease, but she took the secret of how to accomplish this with her to the grave. We discover that Dr. Wu has been seeking her out so that he can find a way to eradicate the genetically modified locust that he's been creating for the company Biosyn. Now Biosyn is basically an opposite to InGen, and it's headed up by Louis Dodgson, who you might remember as being a character from the first Jurassic Park movie. He's the only actor not to return because the guy who originally played him is now a convicted sex offender, so instead they've got in the amazing Spider-Man's dad. Also Biosyn, like biological sin, in case you were wondering who the bad guys were. Now he's headed up the Locust project, and it's theorized by Ellie that these swarms have been attacking crops throughout the world that aren't made through seeds that have come from the company. They're on their way to causing a food crisis that will lead to billions of people starving, and thus she goes to get help from Dr. Alan Grant.
Alan!
This takes them to Biosyn, which is where, Dr. Ian Malcolm works at, and on the opposite side of this, we follow Owen and Claire as they attempt to rescue Maisie. Along the way they come across Kayla, and the movie basically revolves around them taking out Biosyn and surviving all the dinos there that inhabit the location. I don't know what to tell you, but it's very member berries, and as the group get back together, we have several Easter eggs from the series popping up. Ellie ends up looking over a Triceratops like she did in the first film, flares are used to make dinosaurs go in a certain direction, Malcolm brings up how many kids he has, a Dilophosaurus pops up, Alan asks about a T-Rex on a helicopter, and before you can say, I'm blue dabba dee dabba die, we're getting characters sat next to people that look like Dennis Nedry. Also, I'm not sure whether Bryce Dallas Howard was pregnant during this movie or not, but they have a large number of scenes where she's standing with a coat covering her belly. Legit have a moment early on where she says she's just out burning a coat, and yeah, you should have, just make her pregnant, yeah, just make her pregnant in the movie. Make Owen the dad. Now Ellie, Alan and Malcolm end up rescuing Maisie, and they attempt to escape, which is when they come across Owen, Claire and Kayla out in the forest. However, they've got bigger issues that pop up when a Giganotosaurus shows up in the forest. It's a Giganotosaurus, it got Giganotosaurus. Look, either way, it took me back to the days of Dino Crisis 2 when that massive monster used to chase you towards the end of the game, and I always thought it was pronounced Gigantosaurus, but I guess not. Now this creature is the largest predator to ever walk the earth, and it becomes the main dinosaur antagonist towards the end of the movie. Now the group attempt to climb a tower as the Giganotosaurus tries to eat them, and it's during this that Ian Malcolm lights a branch on fire. However, unlike the flare in the first movie, he ends up throwing it in the beast's mouth. At the top of the tower, Claire stuns it and it then flees. Whilst all this has been going on, Dodgson has tried to incinerate the locust so that the truth of Biosyn can't be discovered, but they end up escaping and they cause a forest fire. As the compound burns, his right-hand man Ramsey goes to see him, which is where we see the shaving cream can from the first movie. This was recovered in Camp Cretaceous, but Ramsey doesn't want to let it go to the Archive 81, and it's revealed he set Dodgson up. The group realise that in order to escape, they need to restore the power, and whilst one group handles that, the others go after Blue's baby. Forgot to mention that was also stolen by Biosyn along with Maisie, and that's why these breakdowns are terrible. I'll not lie to you. Now, the powering up scene is done in a very similar way to the one from the first movie, and you have to hand it to Ellie. She's good at turning on switches, and turning on Alan Grant Shabow.
Alan!
Now Dodgson attempts to flee with a precious scientific research, and he's killed by 3 Dilophosauruses. These spit acid in his face, mirroring the fate that Nedry had whilst he was working for him. Guess he couldn't dodge, son. Now, as the group attempt to escape, they come across Dr. Wu, and though the last two have seen him as somewhat of a villain, he helps to engineer a way to stop the Locust, thus saving the planet. As they try to get to Kayla's chopper, the Tyrannosaurus shows up, and then the Giganotosaurus. This is the big battle that the whole movie's been building towards, and no one is initially T-Rexed. She gets the upper hand after a little help from a friend. Rexy pushes the Giganotosaurus into the claws of a Theranitosaurus, which impales it on its sharp talons. As for Rexy, this is supposed to be the same one that popped up all the way at the start of the first movie, and, they're basically best mates with the humans now. Now in the end, Alan and Ellie kiss after he says he's coming with her. Throughout the movie, she said she thought he wanted to be alone, but being back with her has made him realise how happy he is. This is mirrored in Maisie too, who ends up seeing the family that she was fighting against for what they truly are. Dr. Wu ends up engineering the Locust DNA in order to save the planet, and he attributes this to Charlotte rather than taking the credit himself. One of these is unleashed, and rather than destroying the crops, the creatures now fly away. Ramsey ends up becoming a whistleblower on Biosyn, and though humanity was struggling to live with the dinosaurs, we decide to make peace with them. At Biosyn Valley, the dinosaurs there are granted sanctuary, and they're allowed to live free away from the outside world. There are several T-Rexes here, which also mirrors the end of the Lost World. Now there is the potential that Ramsey could in fact end up taking the dinosaurs in a positive direction, whereas they've been exploited in the past, he could end up caring for them. Being a whistleblower shows where his allegiances lie, and with Biosyn Valley now being a sanctuary, he could look after them. Baby Blue is also reunited with her mother.
You're my boy, Blue! You're my boy.
No, you're my girl, Blue, and they run off into the forest together. This not only mirrors the ending of Fallen Kingdom, but it also shows that we must learn to live with the dinosaurs. Life, finds a way, and in the end, they've been here longer than we have. The humans managed to bring the dinosaurs into Earth's ecosystem, and the movie ends with a hopeful message. Whereas it was thought that one species would push the other to extinction, we see that these animals managed to coexist alongside the others on the planet. We must coexist too if we both want to survive, and it ends the film on a positive note. Going forward, there are rumblings of a sequel, and there certainly are a number of characters that they could go with, such as Maisie, Ramsey, or Kayla. We could also get a prequel, as we discover in Charlotte's video diaries that InGen had developed dinosaurs back in the 1980s. However, this very much feels like a closing of the book to me, and it wraps up both the Park and World trilogies. Personally, I think they should probably give it a rest for a bit, and I'm guessing that if the series does come back, they'll just add a new word onto the end of Jurassic, like Jurassic Park in space. Now, as for my thoughts on the movie, I think the series is probably gonna go extinct after this one, as it's pretty underwhelming and isn't being well received. The money it makes will either make or break it, but I don't know how it's gonna be taken by general audiences. I don't think it's as bad as the reviews are making it out to be, but there are a number of weird choices in it that make it the worst film in the franchise, in my opinion. 3 might be there as well. Fallen Kingdom's not that good either, but either way, the Locust plot is a weird driving force, as is the human cloning one, the both of which I think bog down this film. Jurassic Park movies are supposed to be about the dinosaurs, and in the same way that the Godzilla franchise ends up worse off because of the human drama, I think this does too. There's a vast number of scenes that are pretty meh, and the more we've moved away from the park, the worse I think the series has got. I think these films are at their best when they're in one location like Park, Lost World, 3 and World, and I'm not sure it works as a globe-trotting adventure. And there are some high points in it, like the phenomenal parachute scene, the raptor chase, and also the dinosaurs that pop up towards the end. However, they aren't impactful enough in my opinion, and when comparing them to the rest of the franchise, I feel they fall short. This is a series that had the T-Rex scene, the raptors in the kitchen, the 2 T-Rexes as the caravan dangled over the cliff, the Spinosaurus, that woman getting eaten in Jurassic World for being on her phone too much, and the Brachiosaurus in the fire from Fallen Kingdom. I just don't think that this movie has scenes that stick in my memory like that, and it feels very much like a clone of the previous films, but it doesn't live up to them. This metaphor can be applied to the entire franchise, and in a way, the Jurassic Park series is a lot like Jurassic Park itself. You had the awe and wonder the first time you saw it, but then there were a couple of disasters. They then rebooted the park, but after a number of deaths, they just kept going, even though anyone else would have been like, mate, people have died, stop trying to make this park a thing. Now by people have died, I mean the movies have been meh, but much like Biosyn, there's too much money involved in letting the dinosaurs just go extinct. There's been so many false starts and things going wrong with Jurassic Park that I think they should just scrap the whole thing, the park and the franchise. It's a bit of a long-winded way to say that this movie didn't really need to be made, and that they were so occupied with seeing if they could do it, they didn't stop to think whether they should. I'm sure you'll enjoy it though if you turn your brain off, and the nostalgia of seeing the original cast back definitely does a lot of the heavy lifting. The moments with Alan, Ellie and Ian are by far the strongest parts of the film, and at least we get some closure on what happened to them. For the rest of the series though, I'm happy for this to be as dead as the dodo, and that's why it gets a 5.5 out of 10. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie. I know there's people who think it's worse than what I've said, and some who think it's better, so comment below and let me know. We are running a competition right now and giving away 3 copies of The Batman on the 15th of June, and all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the movie. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of The Boys, which will be linked on screen right now. We've gone over the latest episode, had a lot of fun with it, so definitely head over there right after this. That out of the way, thanks for sticking through the video, I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.